We will be led by the team from Makerere University, Department of Performing Arts and Film. First, the national anthem, East African anthem, and the Makerere University anthem.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy heart. United, free for liberty, together we'll always stand. Ee Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Makerere, Makerere, we build for the future, the great Makerere. Great, great and mighty, the walls around thee. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside thee. Great, great and mighty, the walls around thee. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside thee. From east and west, from north and south, all voices singing arise, Makerere, rise up and rise, high up and high, all voices singing arise, Makerere, 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 we build for the future, the great Makerere. Great, great and mighty, the walls around thee. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside thee. Great, great and mighty, the walls around thee. Great, great and mighty, the gates beside thee.
My pleasure to invite Reverend Canon Amos Tuliahabwe, Chaplain, Makerere University St. Francis Chapel, to lead us in an opening prayer.
Let's pray. Loving Father, our precious Creator, we thank you very much for the opportunity of this day. We thank you for Makerere University. We thank you for the far you've taken us through history in providing leadership for Uganda and the world, and Africa and the world at large. We thank you, Lord, for our current leadership and for the way they've taken us and led us. We thank you, Lord, now for the time of transition. Transition is your will. And when you chose Moses to lead Israelites, the time came when transition had to happen and Joshua took over. We want to thank you, Lord, for the efforts and wisdom of the search committee, for coming up with a list of candidates that we have today. Pray for them, that, Lord, your will shall be done. And as your word promises us, that as you were with Moses, so you would be with Joshua. We pray, Lord, for the leaders that are going to be presented to us, that you shall choose a man after your own heart, who shall take us to higher levels as Makerere University. Forgive us for the things that were not right, that are not right in what we do, and give us the grace to do better each day. We commit this day into your hands, that all shall be done for your own glory and honor, and your name shall be glorified. Thank you, Lord. because you promised to hear us when we pray, who have prayed in the name that is above all names, the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Yes, amen. And for those ready to tweet, very soon we will be displaying the hashtag so that you follow the event. It's now my pleasure to invite the secretary to the search committee, Mr. Charles Sibalgahare, who is also the university secretary and accounting officer for Makerere University. Welcome the secretary to the search committee.
All protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. I have been introduced, so I don't know whether I need to introduce myself. My name is Charles Varugahare, and the university secretary and the secretary to the search committee. My duty this morning is very simple. It is to introduce the Vice Chancellor Search Committee 2017. It is indeed my honor to introduce to you the Vice Chancellor Search Committee 2017 members. This committee was constituted in accordance with Section 31, subsection 3 of the Universities and Other Tertiary Institutions Act 2001 as amended, composed of 2 members from the University Council and 3 from the University Senate. It's my honor to introduce the chairperson of the committee. Is the vice chairperson of the University Council, is the executive director of FIDA Uganda, and is a former East African Legislative Assembly member, and she's also a member of African Union High-Level Panel on illicit financial flows. Welcome, Irene. The other member is Mr. Bruce Baraba Kabasa. Bruce Kabasa is a government representative on the University Council. He's the chairman, Makerere University Appointments Board. He's the associate director, University Forum on Governance. Welcome with me, Mr. Bruce Kabasa. Allow me, members and stakeholders, to introduce Senate representatives on the search committee. Professor J.Y.T. Mugisha, we have always teased him to tell us what these letters mean. He always tells us it's a paragraph, so I will not go into it. Is the Senate representative, is a professor of mathematics and the principal, College of Natural Sciences, Makerere University. The other Senate representative is Dr. Betty Ezati. Dr. Betty Ezati is an associate professor and is the Dean, School of Education. She's also the chairperson, National Curriculum Development Center. This was not in any order. Allow me to introduce Dr. Frank Mwine. Dr. Frank Mwine is an associate professor and is also the Dean, School of Biosecurity, Biotechnical and Laboratory Services, College of Veterinary Medicine and Biosecurity, called COVAP. Members, I'm the secretary to the search committee, but the other members of the secretariat are Alfred Masike Namua, who is the academic registrar, Makerere University. The other member is Canon Gode Mhanguzi Muhumuza, the acting director, legal affairs, Makerere University. The secretariat is supported by Annette Nakayovu. Annette Nakayovu is the administrative assistant in the University Secretary's office. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome the chair of the search committee to make her remarks. Thank you very much.
It's such a pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of the search committee for the Vice Chancellor 2017, and to say that your presence is what is going to make this event a success. So thank you very much. Particularly, I would like to thank the current Vice Chancellor. The prayer said it all. Transition is important, and I would like to appreciate his being here to witness the final step in the search process as part of ensuring we have a smooth and successful transition. So thank you very much, Professor Dumba. I think in this, Makerere is also setting an example to other institutions in this country. The process is very important for us as an institution. Many of us are alumni of Makerere University. I was here in 1983 and left in 1986. And even after you leave the university, you still have an attachment to it. We know that Makerere is the oldest public university in this country. It's also the largest. And we have faced a lot of challenges, but also a lot of achievements over the year. The role of the Vice Chancellor in steering and providing leadership to this institution is paramount. The Vice Chancellor is, in effect, the Chief Executive Officer of Makerere. So this process is really important. So today, we are all here with you as stakeholders in the university, in the sector, and in the country to witness publicly what our three candidates have to offer. We would like this to be a positive and constructive experience for them and for us. We believe that from the different perspectives that you have, you can add value to this process, and we also can test the mettle of each of the candidates. How do they function in the public sphere? How do they handle issues and questions that arise? What is their level of knowledge? We know we have had strikes for some time, and a Vice Chancellor has a role in engaging on those sorts of issues. So this is a very transparent process today. Its success rests on three groups: the candidates themselves, yourselves as members of the public, to make it a positive and strategic engagement, and the moderators, whom I will now introduce.
Thank you. Christine, as you walked in, I was just laying down the ground rules as was discussed between you and I. And I think now at this point in time, because it's now 10 o'clock, we would want the Secretary to bring the first candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Chilabwe.
Thank you very much, the moderator for this session, the chair of the search committee, colleagues who are here. I will not go through the various protocol. I can only say that protocol is observed. I would like to thank you very much for coming and attending this occasion. It shows a sign of interest in what is going on at Makerere University. And I would like to present myself to you to make that interest even greater. And that's why I'm titling my presentation as Makerere leading by example. So we're going to see a lot of things happening at Makerere. Makerere being a leader in the higher education sector, Makerere University working with government, Makerere University working with development partners and all the stakeholders, but also importantly, looking at Makerere University, looking inside itself and taking advantage of its brand, of its image, and the faculty and administrative and support staff that it has. And also looking at the students. In my presentation, I'll make reference to this, because if you have a student population that is close to 40,000, there is a lot that you can do, not just at Makerere University, but for the rest of the higher education sector. And so we would like to position ourselves at Makerere University with my leadership that we begin or we continue to live and work by leading by example. Chair and moderator, I would like to start by appreciating the role of the Vice Chancellor, and I'll put there a few slides. As you know, and I can see that we have former Vice Chancellors here, you are the #1 public face of this university. So I would like to ask that the search committee looks at me and sees the #1 public image of this university. And I will uphold Makerere University in that way. The Vice Chancellor is also charged with creating a strong and cohesive management team. Vice Chancellor is the chief resource mobilizer for the university, working in tandem with the various colleges and faculty. And also the Vice Chancellor is charged with defending and expanding the community of the university. But of course, you know that if you are in any institution, there are always conflicts, there are always diversion of views, and so that is also something that the Vice Chancellor is charged with. And I can assure you that you're looking at somebody who is very good at conflict management. The second slide is, I would like to start by what I bring to this office. I bring my leveraging of extensive knowledge of Makerere University and its people. I know quite a lot of people, and I would like to appreciate the support that I've been given through this process. I've received so many comments from you on how you would like this university to be, and I promise that these will be reflected in my 5 years in the office of the Vice Chancellor. I bring a demonstrated capability for international networking, for academic administrative, and certainly you know that I'm one of those strong resource mobilizers for this university, not just for my college, but for this university. And thirdly, an understanding and participation in policy, program development, and implementation in the higher education sector. I've had the opportunity to be a government representative on university councils, in secondary schools, and also Makerere University representative on various organs. So I bring an understanding to this job. My additional competencies are personality of respect of office, strategic thinking, and certainly I would like to say, especially in the area of conflict management, that I've been trained very well by the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. If you want to train somebody, put them there. If they can survive, then you know that they can. So I would like to thank my colleagues in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences for battle testing me. But also I bring to this office humility of incompleteness and conviviality. And what I mean here is I bring to this office the knowledge that I don't know it all, and I'm willing to learn, to listen, and I'm a very good listener, but also to do this in a spirit of friendliness so that we then engage. So this is what I bring to this office. Now, I'll run very quickly through my vision and also the strategic pillars. Makerere University, I envision it as a pathfinder university in Uganda, as a leader in higher education, and I would like to note that perhaps we've taken a back seat, and I would like to bring back Makerere as a leader, not just within Makerere, but even human resource development for other public universities and private universities, so that we reposition her to be a competitive university internally. And to do this, I suggest that we have a robust strategic plan that sharpens the strategic, operational, and funding models. Fortunately, our strategic plan has still a year to go, and we can use that year to strategically think through what we need to do. My strategic goals: policies review, devolution of powers, and partnership-based restoration of financial stability. When you look at the first one, for example, you realize that there are a lot of policies that are not approved. And so one of the things that I want to do is to engage with Council and Senate to look at these policies, take them back to the colleges, and really have a conversation, including students, to see that we have these devolution of powers, partnership-based restoration, enhancing of human resources for competence-based academic and research programs, staff and student leadership structures, and of course we have the cross-cutting courses. So those will be the kinds of strategic goals that I want to do, and I want to run through them very quickly, starting from the first one. As I mentioned, policy review. I gave an example that only 3 out of 10 policy drafts that deal with financial management are approved. So we have 7 not approved. And this goes through even with the other policies. And it gives me an advantage because then I can take back these drafts and we work together to make sure that the policies that come through reflect the vision and the goals that I would like to lead this institution. So again, the rigorous engagement of colleges and staff and engagement of organs and agencies of government. We always have to remember that this is a public university and our responsibility is towards government and the nation. The responsibility is not to us. And so the engagement of organs and agencies of government become very important. Now, I would like to note that since 2006, I was lucky that I was the chair of the devolution committee that started the process of collegiate system. We've been shy to implement, the collegiate system. And I would like to suggest that in my term as the Vice Chancellor, we do operationalize the collegiate system. So we have a commitment to implementation so that we are not into just criticizing. We implement it, we critique, we adapt. And also within that process, strengthen the committee structure right from the department to council. So the ultimate goal as far as governance is concerned will be reinstating Makerere University leadership in the higher education sector, and also positioning Makerere University as a think tank for the nation. And those would now be the sort of boxes that reflect that particular goal that is related to governance. The third element that I would like to talk about, and perhaps has become the biggest thing, that a lot of times we start with finance and end with finance. So it kind of clouds our strategic thinking. And so in this regard, I've combined, and I would like to combine financial stability with academic excellence, so that even when we venture into areas, it is for academic excellence. So if we come up with a 5-star hotel, we must show that it translates into strengthening our academic excellence. And so restoration of stakeholder confidence, staff student welfare, equity. I know some of you are already saying incentive. So we can discuss some of those things. Proper and timely accountability. And so we'll have a mix of revenue generation, and I would like to talk about those mix very quickly. If you look at the Universities and Other Tertiary Institutions Act, it lays out 5 areas that the university can resource mobilize. That is grants from government, voluntary contributions, grants contributions, university fees, and any other monies. In my presentation, I would like to concentrate on the grants, number 1, number 2, and number 3. And in my 5 years, I will engage with Kawempe Division and KCCA to see what we can do. So in terms of the first one, on government financing, I would like to adopt a mutual beneficiality and PPP strategy, where I'm proposing that instead of always going to government to ask for more money, knowing that we are one of many priorities, I would like to suggest that I go to government to provide research innovations and advisory services for a cost. So instead of finding somebody from New York or wherever, we as Makerere University should be able to provide those advisory services. And that should rake in money, but at the same time, make our members of staff active. So then you will not have anybody striking because they are very active. They're doing all these kinds of things. So entering into PP arrangements to optimize the university facilities. I give an example. I know Professor Sabit has a Center of Excellence in Kawanyolo and quite a few others. We're starting the conversation with the University Hospital. And I think that if we go into partnership, especially guaranteed by government, we can utilize spaces like Kawanyolo, Buyana, have the state-of-art medical school that also provides. And so in my term, I would like to pursue this as a more interactive and perhaps more effective way of getting money from government. And so, of course, government guarantees, and then we will continue to engage government on budgetary contribution. And I would like to thank the government that at least in the next budget they've committed some money. But I think that this will be perhaps a better approach. And I know some universities that have done quite a lot in this way. Kenyatta University built a whole medical school through the PPP arrangement with South Koreans, with government, and actually now are providing probably one of the best hospitals so we have the human resource, and what I want to do is to create the environment that brings up these aspects. From grants contributions, we have, I would like to grow the research grants and product development portfolio. And I'm sure that for those of you who know me, you know that I can resource mobilize for research grants. So I would like you to give me the opportunity to now be the leader in this resource mobilization for research grants and for all these different things. And through that, I would like to suggest that every school should have a flagship program. Every school will have a flagship program, either in terms of centers of excellence or incubation centers and so forth. And that way, we give hope and a lot of involvement of the human resource, but of course also the university benefits financially. Convocation initiatives will be encouraged, and I'm glad to note and appreciate that the convocation is already starting in that direction, so I will be encouraging them. Alumni chapters. My proposal is that we start by having college-based alumni chapters as we work towards the big one, because we've been doing that and we have not really done very well. So if we go from the colleges, then I hope that we can move. and of course growing the endowment funds. I'll make you run. You only run once, now we're going to be running every year. And so we will be able to do this. Tuition fees. What I want to do there is to have innovative cost sharing, but also part of the things I want to suggest is the creation of a Makerere University student scheme where the students can actually work. There's a lot of work in the university and also with our corporate partners, so that will make them also able to pay their tuition. And this will not be a needed scheme. It will be a scheme that allows students to have opportunities to work, either estates or corporate partners, and so they will not come to the principal to say, I'm not able to pay tuition. And so that's the kind of institutional capacity development that I'm thinking about. And so the last slides deal with cross-cutting issues, security of person and property. I've had occasion to talk with the students extensively in the last probably 1 year or so, and security is a huge thing on the agenda, and that's something that I want to address. Quality assurance, gender mainstreaming, infrastructure development. In terms of security, those are the kinds of issues that I'm mentioning there, and again, forgeries are becoming an issue. So security of university property and documents is going to be a huge one. In terms of quality assurance, I'm suggesting an overt quality assurance oversight framework so that we actually can tap into the institutional prestige and responsibility to mentor our students. And so internships and all these different kinds of things are coming through there. Gender mainstreaming will still continue to be a commitment of this university under my charge. And so we will do the mentorship programs, the workplace facility care services provide, and then the gendered student program initiatives on and off campus. What I notice here is that, yes, we have gender policies that look at entry at Makerere, but what do we do with those young women that we've given opportunity to come to Makerere? What do we do with them when they leave? So that's the connection that I'm looking at. Finally, Chair and members, is the infrastructure investment, both soft and hard, optimal utilization of existing spaces. I will not say tomorrow I'm going to build a building. There's so much space in this university that we are not optimally using because people are claiming them as their own spaces. And so if we start from there, as we expand the infrastructure, then we should be able to get there. Again, what I talked about before, the government Makerere mutual beneficiality partnership will help us build, and I can give an example of the building next to social sciences and the building next to COBAMS, which has really come as part of this partnership where the African Development Bank now puts in money. And then grants, donation-based infrastructure, centers of excellence, and of course also philanthropy. And with the philanthropy members, I would like to start from home. I would like to start with the Kwagalanas of this country. I would like to start with all the people here. And perhaps one of the innovations we can do is that the person is named after the building, or the person is named after the hall, so that they put in money in our infrastructure development. So
your closing sentence?
Those people who are here that have the money bags, I am coming. So finally, Mr. Chairman, my presentation presents a tripartite synergy of governance and devolution of power, financing and academic excellence, and infrastructure development. I would like to thank you for listening to me, and I'm waiting to be your Vice Chancellor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We thank Professor Kirumira Edward for articulating his vision for this university. I think it will be prudent for us to just give him 1 minute to tell us the kind of instruments and tools he will use for delivering all the strategies he has articulated to all of us.
The biggest resource that Makerere University has is its human resource. So one of the things that one needs to do is to see how one harnesses that human resource. And there are two things that are mentioned. The first one is a devolution of power, so that colleges can be allowed to utilize the human resource that they have. But also colleges can be allowed to fail, if I may use that, so that then you can take lessons from there. I think if we do that, and also the other thing that I said was that each of the school or each of the college should have a flagship program or project or center of excellence. I think that when we do that, we will achieve the element that people feel that they feel a sense of ownership, they feel a sense of belonging, and we can do that. The strategic plans, we will also review the strategic plans so that each of the colleges does have a strategic plan. Because if I asked members here, how many of us even know the current strategic plan? That would be. So this is how, in concrete terms, I would like to achieve. And as I said, that I am looking at my vision in terms of leading, in terms of guiding, not necessarily in terms of myself doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Edward. You talked about branding and imaging, and then you also talked about gender. I was wondering how you are going to deal with the invisible barrier to education for women, which is sexual violence and harassment that has eaten this great institution.
What do you have for us on the table to ensure that actually me, a smaller face, or if I raise my issue, it could be taken on to get justice? Thank you.
I liked your expression, which you use quite often, in concrete terms. And I'd like you to apply it to what you proposed as extending the gender policy from just the entry point, which is the focus at the moment, to in-house when they are here at university, and to exit where they go from here. In concrete terms, could you give us some examples of that, how that's going to work out?
Mr. Professor Chirumira, we know that you are the principal school of social sciences, and you're contesting to be the VC of Makerere University at large. But we've seen that you being the principal of social sciences, a lot of failures have happened in the school at large. And you know that social sciences consists of many students at large, actually. First of all, we are doing exams for this semester, yet we've not yet received results for last semester. We don't know if we have retakes, and you tell us you are the principal. Second of it all, we paid our internship money. We don't see it on our accounts. You tell us you are the principal. Now, how will you manage? How will you manage to govern the whole institution of Makerere University?
You've spoken about devolution, and I think many of us in Makerere agree that this is necessary and inevitable. But we wonder, why isn't it happening? You've been part of management some level, and more specifically, what are you going to do to ensure that this actually happens.
As a vice chancellor of this university, how do you intend, what is expected to be your contribution towards this so that there is no discrimination in your administration? Thank you.
I've talked about and I will take that together with the devolution question. One of the biggest challenges we've had is that for quite some time, we've reduced the university to finances. And so we have all been competing for finances from the university bursar's office. And perhaps the university bursar has become more powerful than even the rest of the members of management. And so when you get yourself into that mode, it sets you up for some of the failures. Now, the student mentioned some of the failures. Like, for example, they have not had their internship. That is why I'm proposing that we should decentralize, that we have the colleges. Because I don't see why a student should be paying their internship money to the center and the operations are at the college. So, student, you are not getting internship. Please don't come to the principal. Go to the vice chancellor. Same thing with the marks and all these different things. I'm sure that most of the units have displayed, and this has nothing to do with the humanities and social sciences, an entire university problem. People have made efforts to display the marks, but they can't enter them in the system. So if you don't have your marks now, I think where you should go again is not to the Vice Chancellor, to the Directorate of Information and Technology. So basically what I'm saying is that there are certain problems that have come and find themselves at the door of the Vice Chancellor when actually they should not be the problems of the Vice Chancellor. Once we devolve, then we can be able to say that Principle X is not working. So that's the point I'm making. Devolution, why hasn't it worked? Again, because of the financing thing. We have inadvertently centralized and over-centralized. One of the things I want to do is to expand the management, the top management, that college principals should be part and parcel of the top management. I have a college that is close to 10,000 students. The Vice Chancellor cannot afford not to know what I'm doing on a weekly basis. So I would like to include the principals so that then on a weekly basis, on bi-weekly basis, we plan for this university. And I can assure you, we will plan for this university. Welfare, I want to save the best for last. Gender issues. Welfare and this discrimination. And I relate it to the issue that one of the principles, one of the things that the Vice Chancellor needs to do is team building. Now, what has happened over the years is that for no particular blame on any one of the associations, that the associations have tended to go individually. So MWASA is on its own, MASA is on its own, NUEL is not on its own. But if you look at the proposal that I'm making of mutual beneficiality and PPP, the academic staff will do what they are best at. The administrative and support staff will support the financial and administrative operations of those very centers that we're talking about. And so it's a collective effort And I tell my colleagues in the humanities and social sciences that if a cleaner does not clean the lecture room, the lecturer cannot teach in that lecture room. So there shouldn't be that academic staff, we are super, and the administrative staff are not. In fact, the most important person, for example, for a vice chancellor, is his driver, because his life is in his hands. So if the driver doesn't matter, then you are in trouble. Lastly, Mr. Chair, on the issue of gender, I'll start with Madam Chiganda. Entry, in-house, exit. In the humanities and social sciences, we're trying this through the internship program. We are making partnerships with NGOs, with corporate, so that we take these students and we give priority to ladies in placement. And for those of you here from social sciences, you will bear me out that we are getting almost to 80% level of placing our students, rather than giving them letters to find where they will go. So that way we can see that we take care. Of course, there is the Female Scholarship Initiative, and now the various other MasterCard and so forth. They've been more about entry. And so we will, through the internship and placement programs, and also the student work scheme that I've proposed, to make sure that we take care of entry, in-house, and exit. So the issue about top management, I've already talked about it in terms of expansion and things. Sexual harassment. One of the things that I've talked about is the revitalization of the committee structure, right from department to council. So we will revitalize the committee structure. We will make sure that the committee representation is there, and also the student representation on those committees. We will also I will work with the student guild to again see how the students are engaged. And there's this issue about the presidencies on campus. You know, every time now you're walking, every other person you have to say Your Excellency. Because there's the guild president, then there is other things. So we will work together with the Dean of Students to see how we can respond. Because I think the problem with that whole thing about sexual harassment and so forth is that there are no channels through which these young ladies can express themselves without fearing repercussions. And so I'll be very, very strong on those committee structures. I'll be very, very strong on the representation of
Professor
students.
Chirumira.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for ably addressing yourself to the public. Ladies and gentlemen, applause for Professor Chirumira.
Members, allow me the honor of introducing architect Professor Barnabas Tawangu.
Madam Moderator, and your colleague moderator, members of the search committee, members of council present, my colleagues, staff of Makerere University, invited guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Chair, I have worked under 6 vice chancellors since I joined Makerere University in 1987. Under 6 great men. Unfortunately, for the moment, not yet. I haven't worked under the opposed together, but I've worked under 6 great men who have nurtured me and mentored me. And you can see I came here, appointed first as a lecturer, growing through the ranks, and I pioneered the head of the Department of Architecture until my current position as the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Finance and Administration. I also have held several key assignments. Practically every Vice Chancellor under whom I have served has given me special assignment of great importance to this university. Academic leadership. As I said, I pioneered the Department of Architecture, pioneered the course, and within 5 years, attained the accreditation by the Commonwealth Association of Architects, becoming one of only 3 universities, 3 architecture programs on the African continent at that time to be accredited. I have, of course, been an examiner in very many universities. I have been leading curriculum development and very many other academic activities. I have been a proficient research leader and manager, and I have chaired the largest research program ever in the history of Makerere University, and that's the CEDA program. And during that tenure, when CEDA was celebrating their 30 years of the SARIC program, the Makerere program was voted the best in the whole world. I have coordinated and chaired very many other important research programs, coordinated very many, but probably the one that catches everybody's imagination in Uganda these days is the leadership, my leadership under which the Kira EV was developed. And you can see here the Kira EV. As I have said, I'm also a proficient researcher. I am probably the most proficient researcher in vernacular architecture on the African continent. I have published more than 40 publications and presented at more than 75 conferences. I am a resource mobilizer. I think that is very natural for me. Everywhere I go, any position I've held, somehow money just keeps coming. I don't know why, but it's a gift from God. I have raised more than $100 million for this university for research alone during the years that I have been in different positions of leadership. And I have listed there those. The new building also said that, people used to laugh at us. They say, you people, you are the engineers, but you're staying in the ugliest building on campus. And I would tell them, this is the most beautiful building. It's just that your perception is a little bit different. But we now have a new building, and we are working on improving the old one. Most recently, I have negotiated with the KCCA. KCCA had actually got permission to take our land without paying a cent. Because they said, you are a government institution, we are also a government institution, this is government land. We said no. The negotiations took very long. At the end, Jennifer Musi said, you are the best negotiator in Uganda. And you can ask her, I'm not telling lies. Now, because of that, we are already seeing a university that looks like a first world university. Modern infrastructure. Like Makerere is the best lit environment in Kampala today, at night. You have heard about MAK Holdings and Makerere Endowment Fund. Those are my brain children. Of course, working with my colleagues. But the Makerere Holdings, if we implement what I call the Makerere Infrastructure Development Marshall Plan, if we implement it fully, we will more than double our income. Some people have even argued it will be much more than double. And we have established that. We are helping them to go ahead. PPPs are still a new thing in Uganda. There are still some issues, but they are at advanced stage. Of course, you see, I'm campaigning for funds, campaigning for the Makerere Fund run. Now, this is going to be a 5-star hotel in Kololo. That 5-star hotel, we are at advanced stages with the transaction advisor through the Makerere Holdings to invest on all our underutilized and dormant lands. This has been something that everybody has been talking. We have been blamed by everybody. The president has been saying, why can't you invest on our lands? That is now becoming a reality because of my contribution. This is going to be a three-star hotel at Makerere to replace the current guest house. And it will also be a convention center. That's another view of the three-star hotel. Now, most of our students stay off campus, not because they choose to, but because we don't have the facilities. We, under that same program, we want to put up 5 modern hostels for students, using again the PPP. So this is just one of the proposed hostels on campus. Those are apartments. Together with the 5-star hotel in Kololo, we plan to have apartments. Makerere is ranked number 4 in Africa. It is ranked number 500 in the world.
Could we have silence, please?
That makes Makerere
Could we allow the candidate to talk?
That makes Makerere one of the best universities in the world by any standard. But we are the only major university without a hospital. We are planning to have a teaching hospital in Katalemwa. These are the architectural impressions. Human resource. I have been seeing my colleagues arguing on the WhatsApp and the mailing list. Management, you did nothing. Even the enhancement came by itself. I hope I have clarified that you are having this enhancement because I and my colleagues took a certain step. So it did not come out of the blue. I have done quite a bit in improving our load. Resolution of the pension areas. We have had this problem for a very long time. It took very good negotiation for government to take over our debt of 30 billion shillings. Staff health insurance policy. This has again been on the books for many years until last year when the council approved the new policy of health insurance, and I'm convinced we should be able to roll that out during this coming financial year. And then, of course, staff development. When I became Dean of the Faculty of Technology, there were about 2 associate professors, no full professor. By the time I left, there were more professors, associate professors, probably than very many colleges in this university. Student affairs. The new fees policy. I never want to brag about what I've done, but today let me do that. It took me sleepless nights drafting this with some colleagues until we agreed with the students and the government, all stakeholders. We agreed on a fees policy that is agreeable to everybody. Protection of the integrity of Makerere credentials. I've been seeing people arguing, why transcript? What we have told them, it is better to get a transcript that everybody will believe in than rushing to get one which is not. And this is because of the tampering with our systems, which was tarnishing the image of our university. And one day I said, no, enough is enough. And that will never happen again. Security I've talked about, support, guidance, and counseling, and then proactive communication. No, I'm on all student WhatsApp lists. They go, they insult me there, and I say thank you for saying that, and then sometimes they say, that's good. So keeping constant communications with all our stakeholders. Now, we are seated here today in a hall which befits Makerere University, but you remember a few years back, what you would find here, broken chairs and something, but now you can bring presidents here and they are given honorary awards, and you can say we have one of the best halls in this country. The same thing with the senior command room. The roads I've already talked about, and so on. Very soon, you'll be entering Makerere University through this gate. It is already under construction. That's why that place is closed off. So people who were not here 4 months ago will come and get lost. Partnerships. For some reason, donors just tend to like me. I have interacted, I have initiated MOUs with all that long list of universities, with the government institutions. It's not, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to begin interacting with the, I'm going to say I'm going to enhance what I've already started. We have something called the Makerere University Private Sector Forum, which is a very important organization, but which we have somehow killed. I am at the center of reviving that. When I talk of networking, it is not just with the only local people, but here you see me with the president of Mauritius, the rector of the University of Kuala Lumpur, a delegation from Khartoum, the vice chancellor of the University of Nairobi, the rector of the University College of Dance in Norway. Let me, there are many. Honorary awards. Recently, I became the first African to be given an honorary professorship in a Russian university. That is no mean achievement. But I also, of course, received an award which some people have mixed views about from the president. The highest award, Independence Golden Jubilee. You can't get anything higher than that. Professional organizations you read through. Let me go straight to what my program will be. You will see the recap of the strategic plan, and I argue that we have done well. We have done well. Some people have argued, what has happened, but I can tell you, we have worked under difficult conditions under the leadership of Professor Dumba. Okay? If we have managed to do what we have done through those conditions, you must give him credit. Now, what is my vision? I did the SWOT analysis, opportunities and so on, you'll see them, and now looking ahead. My vision is driven by what I have been seeing, what I feel as an African, how we Africans should emancipate ourselves from marginalization, but also by these statements which the president made in the letter appointing the visitation committee, and I hope they are doing a serious job, taking this into account, where the president also talks of marginalization and saying Makerere should be the university that takes us out of that. That is extremely important. There are some quotes about university. So my vision is we want a well-motivated, skillful, resourceful, and vibrant staff. We have the best staff anywhere on the African continent. 60% of our staff are with PhDs. There is no other university with that on the African continent. I think even in the world you can say. Now, we want a satisfied and focused student community. The students must understand they are the future of this country, of this continent. We take the cream of our society. Can they come here and waste time in riots and so on? Can we put in place measures to make sure that they actually concentrate and liberate our continent? And of course, a modern research-led university. There are all those other things, but so what is my business plan? Under governance, I want to revive and revamp all governance structures, complete administrative restructuring, full operationalization of college statute. There have been arguments, the college statute is not one. No, it is working, but we have not fully operationalized it. We will solve a lot of our problems if we devolve most of the power to the colleges. The gender mainstreaming. We are leaders in Africa in gender mainstreaming, but we are beginning to lose that. We need to realize the importance of gender mainstreaming, and that will be a priority. And of course, quality assurance has been an issue. We need to strengthen that unit so that it becomes responsible for ensuring quality in our university. Administrative reforms will include things like, of course, ensuring having an integrated management system. We have the best IT backbone in Africa, outside of South Africa. we can make use of that. In a very few years, Cape Town will be dreaming when they became #1 in Africa. Academic reforms. This is a touchy issue. The issue of transcripts. This is in public domain and the public is not happy. We must take this on squarely. I already started doing that, as I told you, even if that is not my docket. But you imagine if I'm now in full control. Anybody who is thinking of tampering with any of academic records, count your days. Deadlines for marking. We can enforce this. Lecturers should enter their own marks. Where they have problems, I would encourage centralized marking. It is working very well in MOOCs, in courses and other places. And it helps a lot. Now, research, we need to have a research grants office at every college. We need to implement some of the policies that we approved long ago, like every master's and every PhD student having at least a publication during their time. If we do that, I can assure you our number of publications will double. We need to establish central business incubation center and also centers at all the colleges. Now we have a Ministry of Science and Technology. How will that ministry run if they don't deal with us? We are going to deal with them and everything will be okay. The private sector forum I've talked. Now this one is very important. We have been having problems with internship. The chairman of Masaka is here. I have already discussed with the chairman of Masaka, suggesting a model for internship where we sent multidisciplinary student brigades to every district. We have more than 130 districts. If we send 200 students to every district, not only will they learn, they will help the district, they will develop the country, because they will save those districts billions of shillings in so-called consultancy, which students can do at no cost.
Professor, your time is up.
As I sum up resource mobilization, I'm going to continue doing the things I've said. Now, financial discipline, I'm going to handle that, staff welfare and retention. Staff are key, and students are key. Any organization will succeed if you get right your personnel and get right your processes. We already have the people. We just need to do a little bit about processes. We shall be way up in the sky. Student affairs, I've talked about that. Now, I'm not just saying this, I have given myself deadlines.
Time is up.
When I was the chair, just 1 minute, when I was presenting here for DVSF, and I gave a similar table. After 2 years, I had given myself 4 years. After 2 years, one member of staff said, but you have completed everything you promised. What else are you going to do? Now, watch that space. In conclusion, I would like to say we are a great university. We are a great university. We can transform our society, provided we are focused, we work together, we pull together, not even the sky is a limit. Thank you.
Okay.
Professor Wangi, you have given us a very elaborate presentation of what you have done. And so with somebody who has been very familiar with Makerere University's strategic plan, could you just clarify to the public what instruments you used, or if you didn't use, what instruments you plan to use to implement the strategic plan?
A strategic plan is setting your goal. Where do I want to be? Like we said that time, in 10 years, we want to be a research-led university. What instruments did we use? We used, of course, research grants. We used staff development and aggressive staff development policy was used. How am I going to handle this? I have already said we have the best staff. I've already said we are going to set up research grants offices. I want research output in every college to double by the time I leave this office. So that is one very important tool that I will use.
Makerere University last year was closed almost 2 months. And there are so many stakeholders outside Makerere University. How sure are we? Because the programs and the life that was really hampered or stopped in that time of the closure of the university is untold.
Please.
My question is, what is the future of Makerere University from that office you're currently holding again to the one of VC?
Yes, your presentation was hilarious right from the start. You talked of 5-star hotels and 3-star, 7-star, I don't know, and apartments and all that. But we are looking at, don't you think there are more dire situations that Makerere is facing other than you talking about hotels and constructing so many things?
Professor, I would like you to comment on the thorny issue of incentives and the fate of the evening programs in Makerere University. Thank you very much.
I would like to continue being proud of Makerere University. Professor, I would like to hear from you. What are the opportunities that you'll put in place to ensure that all staff, male and female, have equitable opportunities and all students, both potential students and continuing students, have an opportunity to enter the university. And when they enter the university, they will feel protected and safe in this environment and live proud of Makerere University. Thank you.
Professor Nawangwe, your presentation was full of architectural designs and I was so impressed. But the architect didn't cover your comments about 3 things. 1, incentive. 2, the huge bill of the university. And then 3, the government takeover of the university bill, wage bill. What do you have to say about that? Thank you very much.
Professor Nawangwe, thank you very much for the presentation. Indeed, it's promising to Makerere if we have to see a great MAK. 2 things. 1 is complementary. I have seen all the plans, but I still believe that MAK, just like any other powerful universities on this planet Earth, they've managed to be who they are through full internationalization. That I have completely missed in this small book. My question is, this is to do with all of us staff at Makerere. How are you planning? I'm sorry if it may affect most of us, including myself. How are you planning to deal with the gap on recycling incompetent staff, including, among others, almost all the administrative offices here in the main building and the Senate? I'm sorry, but I have to say it.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The first question from Mr. Agava Vumubs: what is the future of Makerere since it was closed for 2 months? Makerere has not been closed once. It has been closed many times. And each time it is closed, it emerges even stronger. However, that is not to exonerate that, if you want to say, disruptive culture. I have argued with the visitation committee, and that's why I was saying I hope they do a serious job. That there is no young country that has developed without a strong academic institution. If we want to develop and reach middle income status by 2040, Makerere cannot be left out. My first assignment is to implore upon government that in Makerere you have a very rare asset. You have an asset which you can use to transform this country. This is first and foremost a government institution. Somebody criticized my beautiful architectural plans. Don't look at the architectural plans and you say, how about the other issues? What is the message behind that? If we implemented that, I mentioned, if we implemented that, we would double our income, our revenue. That would definitely address most of the problems we have. And let's not think that our problems are just finances only. We need to deal with other issues. So, we don't want Mackay to keep closing. We want to work with all the stakeholders, including the students, to say, we are a premier university on this continent. We cannot afford to keep losing time every year. The next question was from Professor Vantevia, incentive and evening programs. This is a very touchy issue, which we have all debated, but let me repeat what I've been saying so that you don't think I've changed my mind. At the time we introduced the incentive, there were conditions which made it the best option at that time. And even if many of us have been denying that when we were negotiating, we made it very clear. Let's introduce it as a stopgap measure as we negotiate with the government to take over the wage bill and enhance salaries. We have somehow succeeded in the enhancement, although not fully. We must be honest to ourselves. If and when the government comes in and helps us, we cannot keep carrying a heavy yoke. The incentive has drained us dry. It is a threat for us. It has the potential of damaging this university to unrepairable levels. I'm going to tell this to government. Hasten the pledge you made. Take over the wage bill. Allow Makerere University to breathe. Council is already discussing the issue of evening programs, because definitely we must compensate people who are working beyond their ordinary call of duty. And since you hear from me very often, you'll hear from me very soon about this. The lady from the National Organization of Women, I'm sorry I didn't capture the name very well. Equitable opportunities. If institutions were to be given medals, Makerere should have been given a medal long ago. We are the first university in Africa to implement the, what do you call it? Affirmative action for our girls. When that decision was made, the female student population of this university was at 20%. Now, the female student population is at 51%. So, please campaign for a medal for Makerere. But somebody addressed the issue of when they are here, what happens. We have never instituted any aggressive program for male students. But we have had numerous programs to support female students. The Female Scholarship Initiative is a very good one. The MasterCard is targeting female students. So we are doing everything we can to support the female students. The only thing which is on my slides, and maybe I did not have time to do, is how do we fully implement the gender mainstreaming for the rest of the university, especially in places like management. I think we need to deal with that.
Please conclude.
The fifth question was from Dr. Michael Walimbwa. I think your question is very similar to that of Professor Van Tevia, but maybe the question of the debt. I've told you we already successfully negotiated for takeover by government of a very huge debt, 30 billion shillings. That was no mean achievement. Now that we succeeded there, you can trust me. Even the other day, it will slowly disappear. The last question was from Dr. Josephine Nabukenya. Internationalization. I thought that is the place where I dwelt most. We are a very international university. We have MOUs with more than 200 organizations, international and local. You could probably say, are we implementing this? We are implementing most of them, and we shall enhance that. Recycling. Now, we are not a private organization where somebody wakes up and says, I have fired you. We are a public institution which must abide by the law. And there are laws governing labor relations. It is not that easy to simply get rid of a person. You may end up paying much more. I'm not exonerating rotten apples, if you want to say. But first of all, I want to say, and this is a wrong impression created, that our administrative and support staff are all useless and what. No. We have the best administrative staff I have known. Working in the conditions in which they are working, we need to appreciate them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof.
But I will put in place measures to improve their lot, including promotions. We are promoting academic staff all the time. Council has sort of resolved on that, and that should be implemented very soon. So, for the few who are bad or inefficient, there are administrative measures. You know that some of them have actually been removed from the university, but we must go through proper legal procedures.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.